You're frozen before you open your eyes. Not from sleep, but from what surrounds you. A cold so dense it crackles, a silence so deep it seems to bite. Do you think surviving 72 hours in a Yakutian village is about staying warm? It's not. It begins the moment you wake and breathe air that slices your lungs like glass. Here, dawn brings no light, only an icy haze that makes the windows tremble with every sigh of the wind. At minus 71 degrees, even sound freezes. Your bed is a wooden frame covered with reindeer hides, hardened by ice and use. The breath from your own lungs forms crystals on the blanket that covers your face. There is no central heating. The iron stove in the corner, called pechka, was fed through the night with dry logs and bits of peat. If the flame dies, the entire room becomes a tomb of frost. Waking means checking if the fire is still alive, because without it, life stops. You rise with numb feet and a burning nose. There are no showers, no running water. Water is ice, and ice must be broken. By the entrance, a metal bucket holds solid blocks that will be slowly melted on the stove. There is no luxury, only routine. Washing your face with warm water is a privilege earned through effort. In the depths of Yakutia, every simple gesture is a survival strategy. Breakfast is not a pleasure, it's an obligation. Thick oat porridge, dried horse or reindeer meat, and melted fat. No fruit, no fresh bread. Everything perishable freezes before it arrives. Food is stored outdoors because the air itself is a freezer. In a small underground cellar, supplies rest in eternal cold where time does not rot them. It only preserves them in ice. Opening the storage room is like stepping into a cave of diamonds. Frost glimmers on every surface. Outside the house, the village seems frozen in another century. The homes, built from thick logs and steep roofs, line up like fortresses facing the white tundra. There are no paved roads, only trails marked by footprints and sleds. Dogs, covered in frost, huddle in small packs, shielding themselves from the wind. Every breath escapes like smoke. Every step crunches. The day begins before sunrise, but here, the sun barely dares to climb. Its light is a faint whisper among the shadows. Men head out to chop wood, not from habit, but for survival. A single load can mean warmth for hours. Women tend the fire, prepare bone broth, and hang damp clothes near the stove. Drying anything outdoors is impossible. The fabric would snap before it dried. The children, wrapped in layers of wool and fur, walk carefully, like little astronauts. Their school is a small cabin a few meters away, and reaching it is an expedition. Their eyelashes gather ice. Their cheeks go numb. Their tears freeze before falling. Speaking outdoors for more than a few minutes can cause pain. Here, conversation happens near the fire, where words don't die before they're spoken. Cooperation is not a virtue, it's a law. If a stove goes out in the middle of the night, neighbors come without hesitation. If someone falls ill, no ambulance is called. It wouldn't arrive. A makeshift infirmary is built from blankets, broth, and hands. Every member of the village depends on the others. The community is the only wall against the White Death. Work never stops. Patching cracks in the windows with cloth, tending the fire, watching the animals, checking traps for fresh meat. Bodies move not out of leisure, but necessity. To stay still too long is to risk freezing stiff. By dusk, the temperature drops even lower. The sky turns dark blue, and the stars appear with terrifying clarity. Outside, the silence is so absolute you can hear your own pulse. The lights from the houses flicker like fireflies trapped in a frozen desert. In the distance, a howl blends with the wind. The world seems empty, but it isn't. Here, everything lives differently, slower, sharper, closer to the edge. The first day ends with the wood stacked, the fire lit, and the body exhausted. Sleep is not rest, it's a brief truce. Tomorrow the cold will return with the same precision, the same cruelty. Surviving 72 hours in a Yakutian village isn't about enduring the cold, but understanding it. Because in this corner of the world, life is not conquered. It is negotiated hour by hour at the edge of the ice. The second dawn does not arrive with light, but with a dull echo of wind striking the walls. Outside, the temperature has dropped even further, though numbers no longer matter. At minus 70 or minus 72 degrees, the difference can't be felt. Everything burns the same. Everything bites the same. Here, even the clocks seem to beat slower, as if time itself were freezing too. Fire comes first. Always fire. Before thinking, before speaking, before any human thought, the fire must stay alive. It's not a metaphor. In Yakutia, the flame is no symbol. It is existence. If it dies, the house turns to ice. Hands tremble as they stir the embers, tossing in logs and blowing carefully. There are no matches to spare. There are no second chances. Breakfast remains an act of strength. On the table, dried meat, thick black tea, hard bread, and melted fat. Eating here isn't about pleasure. It's about preparing the body for another assault from the climate. Cheeks burn, lips bleed from dryness, skin cracks like the bark of the trees outside. In every corner, the vapor escaping from mouths creates a ghostly haze, an inner fog floating above heads, a constant reminder of the cold lurking beyond the walls. During the day, tasks are divided with ancestral precision. The men check the sleds, secure the ropes, tend to the animals. The women chop firewood, mend hides, prepare stores. In a Yakutian village, every action has a direct, concrete, vital purpose. There is no luxury of leisure. Anything that doesn't serve survival is a burden. Outside, the horizon is an endless white ocean. The mountains can barely be guessed at through the frozen mist. The wind blows like a living creature, dragging ice dust that cuts the cheeks like tiny blades. Moving between houses requires covering the face completely. Any carelessness, a poorly tied scarf, a bare hand, is paid for with immediate pain. Frostbite gives no warning. It bites within seconds. But amid the punishment, something blooms that the ice cannot break. Cooperation. No one lives alone. If a child falls ill, everyone tends to them. If a sled gets stuck, everyone pushes. If an elder runs out of firewood, the young go fetch it. In Yakutia, community is the invisible cloak. Loneliness kills faster than the cold. The evenings bring a different kind of silence. The sun, barely a pale disk, sets before the body has finished warming up. Twilight lasts only minutes, and then darkness spreads like a black tide. Inside the houses, the fire casts dancing shadows across log walls. Stories are told, not to entertain, but to remind everyone they are still human. Voices speak of ice spirits, of talking animals, of souls wandering the tundra in search of warmth. In these stories, survival is not only physical, it is spiritual. The Yakuts believe the soul must be kept warm just like the body. That's why songs, prayers, and rituals exist, not as ornaments, but as fuel. The soft singing of a grandmother, the rhythmic beat of a drum, the aroma of local herb tea, all of it serves to keep alive a flame that cannot be seen. On the second night, exhaustion is no longer just muscular, it is mental. The cold doesn't only freeze the skin, it freezes the thoughts. You become slower, quieter. You begin to understand why no one here shouts. No one runs. No one wastes energy. Every word costs something. Every gesture carries weight. To survive is to move as though your body were a fire, slowly fading away. The third morning rises without promises. The sun barely grazes the horizon, a golden thread between frozen clouds. Everything remains the same. The wind, the crunch of snow, the smoke escaping the chimneys. But something has changed. You no longer tremble upon waking. The body, resigned, has accepted its prison. The mind, however, grows sharper. You learn to listen to the language of ice, the creaks beneath your feet, the distant howls, the tapping that foretells the coming of a blizzard. Today, it's time to check the traps. A few hundred meters away, beneath a layer of snow, lie the snares that secure the day's meat. Walking toward them is a journey. Every step is an effort. Every breath burns. Frost-covered trees stand like statues. There are no birds, no insects, only you and the wind. When you find the catch, a stiff hair, white as its surroundings, you feel a gratitude that resembles faith. On the way back, the chimney smoke announces that the village is still alive. Children run among the mounds of snow, laughing in cracked voices. Life continues, stubborn, defiant. In Yakutia, each day gained is a victory. There are no heroes, only survivors. When the final night arrives, you sit beside the fire and gaze into the flames as one might behold a miracle. You think about how fragile warmth is, how fleeting human breath seems against a climate that never forgives. And yet, there you are, alive. Not because you've conquered nature, but because you've learned to live with it, to listen, to respect. Surviving 72 hours in a Yakutian village is not a physical challenge, it's a lesson. One that teaches that the limits of human endurance are not measured in strength, but in humility. Here, where ice is king and fire is prayer, every minute is a silent pact between life and death. And for 3 days, you have witnessed that balance, breathing the coldest air in the world, and finally understanding what it means to live on the edge of ice.